pardon me. Good evening. So, if you haven't already heard, in the video I made, I saw my video from yesterday. I know probably some of you haven't watched it, but it's fine. I mentioned that I had this today. Yesterday I said tomorrow, but this today, you know what I mean. Today I had an interview at Chick-Fil-A to finally maybe get me a job. And here's what I experienced, and here's what you may experience as well, or what you may not experience. I don't know. I was in there for about 5 minutes. That's it. That was all. It was not that long at all. It was very quick. Now, I will say this. Depending on who you have, it could still be kind of nerve-wracking. The guy I had, it was a guy. It was actually the manager. It was supposed to be the manager. It was supposed to be a woman, but she wasn't there. So, I had a man. So I got there. Obviously, I can't drive because I have that stupid phobia. So I had my mom take me there. Got out of the vehicle. I was wearing a nice black outfit, all that cool. And I walked in, and I got someone's attention. She was stacking trays. I was like, "Hey, I'm here for an interview. Back at house team member." She's like, "Okay, let me get the manager." And and she told me to wait at the table that was right next to the whole area where we ordered food. So I went to that area. I sat and waited for about 10 minutes. So the interview, so I said it took about 5 minutes, but the interview itself was only 5 minutes. Waiting was even longer than that. So for about 10 minutes, I was sitting at a table. All of a sudden, finally, a big man comes out back of the kitchen area, and all of a sudden, one of the ladies that wasn't really paying attention to me, points at me and whispers at the guy. So I'm assuming I assumed that the guy that she was speaking to was the guy who was going to interview me. And all of a sudden he walks up, and he was like, "Be with you in a minute." Stops the table, walks in the back of the room, or back of the eating area. And for about 5 more minutes, I was sitting at my table, just sitting there. All of a sudden, comes back, taps my shoulder, freaks me out, and he's like, "Come back here with me." And all of a sudden walks to the back, and this big scary man all of a sudden turns to a bright, happy smile. And we sit down at the table, and we introduce ourselves, and briefly talks about how basically this week is kind of an interview week, and next week on Monday will be like an orientation day. I don't really know how that's working, but he asked me a couple of questions, and that was really about that. And he had a notebook in front of him, and he wrote stuff down on it, and it was a big notebook, and he wrote in cursive, but it was a very weird cursive. Like I couldn't really read it. But that was what I experienced. I want to tell you now exactly what questions he asked me, or what I can't remember. So obviously, they're going to ask you for your name first. He asked me my name. I put John. Obviously, I'm not telling you my last name right now, but you get the point. Get my last name and all that. Didn't ask for my date of birth. Did not ask me at all. So I'm surprised, because people online were telling, "Hey, if you're under 18, you must tell the hirer your date of birth." He didn't ask me, so I didn't tell him. So if he don't ask you, there you go. Maybe he thought I was 18. I don't know. Also, he told me he didn't get a chance to look at my resume. What? And it confused me. What do you mean you didn't get a chance to look at my resume? That's the whole point of hiring somebody or getting someone for an interview. You look at their resume and see if they're qualified, and see if they are a fit. You don't just look at everybody who applied and just say, interview for all those people. But that's apparently what he did. Or, well, also, now that I think about it, he said he didn't have time. I'm not sure what he was doing, but apparently he said he didn't have time. Anyways, after the name, he asked me, when are your available dates? That was the first question he asked me, or first real question he asked me. And I told him, and I told him, by the way, right now, it is November 25th. I am still in marching band. Our football team is doing so well. This is the first time in my high school's history, since its beginning in 1951, that we have gotten this far. This is the farthest since 1951 we've gotten in football. Is that not crazy enough? Seriously. This is our last home game. If we beat this next upcoming school, we're going to a big boy stadium next. And it ain't no high school stadium. It's a big boy stadium for colleges or whatever. So, crazy. Anyways, sorry about that. Sorry about that detour. Just want to give you a heads up on that. So, told my available dates. And then he asked me when I can start. And I was like, okay. I just had him put... We talked for a minute, and he ended up putting ASAP. So, depending on your person, if they have... Based on who they are, they may just put ASAP, because based on your schedule and based on how you are, we can narrow it down. So, I guess that's what he was trying to do. After that, he asked me what my starting pay should be. Or what I think what my starting pay should be. And I looked at questions online. I didn't see nothing that talked about your starting pay. So I was like, okay. And I told him, I'm not telling you right now exactly what it was, but let's say $9. Okay? And let's say $8 was the minimum for the job. And I said, let's do $9. He bumped it up some money. He was like, let's not start that low. And he ended up bumping it up some money. And he was like, just, because you never know what will happen. And I can understand that. So he bumped it up some money. And so he did that. And then he asked the question that I knew he was going to ask. Everybody's going to ask this question. Why Chick-fil-A? And I gave my answer, you put your employees, you put not just your customers, but you also put your employees first. You put, and the way you treat your employees and customers has always been satisfactory, and I've seen how teams work, so it's basically kind of that in summary, but, I told him a whole bunch, why I would work there, because Chick-fil-A is an excellent franchise. So, he wrote that down, and the cursive he wrote in, which I could not read, so I don't know what he put. And then he asked me, what's next? Hold on, let me think for a minute. How involved are you in your community? This one I didn't expect, but it was also kind of random, considering that what he's asked me so far was kind of interesting. Also, I expected 4 people to interview me, not just the manager alone. When he tapped me on the shoulder, he brought me to the back of the seating area. It was the back corner. I was in the front waiting, tapped on me, back corner. Anyways, I think he goes back there for a while because he was cleaning up the area. I don't know, I can't really tell. I didn't look back there because I didn't want to be nosy. But anyways, so next question, yeah. How involved are you in your community? And I told him, I stay after marching band games to help clean up. Clean up, stack chairs and whatnot. I go to church on Wednesdays, and he wrote that down. I can't remember how often I made eye contact with him. I tried to as much as possible, but I can't remember if I actually was accurate at doing that. So, we'll see. I think I was fairly good at it. But yeah, so how involved are you in your community? That's another key one. That was really about it. He asked me a couple more questions, but I forgot what they were. I'll sure remember them after the video, and I'll probably just put in the description if I remember them. But this man was not supposed to interview me, so I don't think that he actually knew the itinerary for what the questions he was actually supposed to ask me, and he only had the top 5 on top of his head, which I understand, because it was supposed to be a woman. So if that woman interviewed me, she probably would have asked me a bunch more questions. The guy didn't ask me about customer service. He didn't ask me about anything like that. But also, I applied for back of house, not front of house. So that could be another reason why, but I don't know. Again, theory. I don't know. After we were done, we shook hands firmly, and he offered me a free meal, and I was all yippee about, and got me a sandwich with no pickles and a medium high C. Also, I didn't tell you this, when I first walked in, and after I told that one lady that I had an interview, another lady was like, "Hey, you want a drink?" And I'm like, "I'm good, thank you." And I'm glad I said no because I was getting one in the end anyways. But she looked at me and she looked like she looked like, well, she looked at me like she knew I was, a little scared, nervous. And then probably why she offered me a drink. But so you walk in, someone might offer you a drink. You might end up getting the manager or somebody that doesn't have as much of a clue and will ask you a whole bunch of questions. Because I was in there for like literally 5 minutes, and I got my food and walked out. It was the most beautiful interview I've ever had because it wasn't actually as stressful as I thought it was going to be. And I'm very happy it was not that way. So, this big scary man turned out to not be scary. He just kind of was in the beginning, which I thought was kind of weird. But, that's how a lot of people are, so I can't really complain about that. That's it, though. Just wanted to give y'all an overview. I'm sure there was a lot more I missed that is not on top of my head right now, but, that's the premise of what he asked me for questions. I got lucky. It was not asked a whole list of questions. However, if you're watching this video or applying Chick-Fil-A, you might not be in the same situation. So, just so you know, you might get what I got, or you might get something worse. Or better, for all I care for. Who knows? But, I got lucky, so. That's it, though. Thank God for watching. If you have any other things you want to talk to me about, or, put comments in for, I'll be happy to read them, and maybe even reply to them based on what they are. Thank God for watching. I know some of you were curious on how the interview went, because I talked about it in my ASMR video yesterday. So, but yeah, it went pretty good. So, thank God for watching. Good night.